Good evening. Hey, last time I left off with you, I was going to talk about grief and loss. That is something a lot of us that are my age, even younger and older, are facing more and more often. Oddly enough, the older we get, the more older our family gets, and the more likely they're going to die. I don't know. Anyway, I kind of have the unique experience that I am currently going through the bereavement process with my father. My father was diagnosed with dementia in 2009. That has since progressed to full blown Alzheimer's. He's currently in a memory care facility in Turlock, California, and my mom lives in her own apartment. Both of them are still married, which is a blessing. Last time I visited with my father was a couple weeks ago, and he didn't recognize me. And when my mom and I took him to a restaurant for Father's Day, it didn't go so well. So we had to pretty much leave with paying for our food without even eating it.
It's 22 hours.
My dad was a little too anxious, and so we had to get him out of there. So thankfully we did, and we got him home safe. And so that gives you an idea of how acute my father is currently. In addition to that, I have a mother who is also declining mentally as well. And that's really tough to watch as well because, like most of us, we grew up with our parents with this weird idea that, our parents would live forever and we'd never have to deal with this. And, for the longest time, I looked at my mom and dad and said, wow, seems like this is going to last forever. And, unfortunately, time does pass, and we do age as human beings. And, we go through the processes of development, stages of development. Right now, both my parents are in the end stages of their development. One's cognizant of it about 80 to 85% of the time. One is completely unaware of what's going on in his life. I cannot imagine what's going through my father's head as he stares off into space. I just hope and pray that the researchers do come up with a cure for dementia Alzheimer's, because the process of bereavement is, I would not wish it on my worst enemy. Not on my worst enemy. It has taken a toll on my relationships with my siblings. Currently, I'm only in contact with one sibling, two nieces, and one brother-in-law out of a family of about almost 30 people. So, that's my family now. So, I'm not saying this to, for you to feel sorry for me or anything. It's just that's part and parcel of what can happen sometimes if a major family member gets an illness. And the weird thing is, I really never knew how much glue my father really had in holding our family together. Here all along, I thought it was my mom. And the odd thing is they were a team. They worked as a team. If one of those team members is gone, the other one is completely clueless, and lost. And, honestly, if the roles were reversed and, my mom was the one that got sick before my dad would probably act in the same way. Probably not as much of an intense version as my mom has acted, but nonetheless, he'd probably be in the same boat as my mom right now. So, So what I've managed to develop over these years that my dad has grown more acute in his illness, and I can see my mom going through her journey, is the value of finding people that have gone through similar issues. I am blessed to say I'm dating a woman who is also losing her mother to dementia Alzheimer's and has been a little further down the road than I have. So she is really a huge source of support and understanding through this. I have friends that have lost, grandparents to Alzheimer's dementia. I've got colleagues that have parents who are actively demented and they're caretaking for them. And, I can't imagine what that's like. Nonetheless, so for me, having that support system, and not only just leaning on the support system, but also actively reaching out to those people as well, and offering my support to them in whatever they're going through. Because the one thing I realized about grief, loss, recovery in general is that I am not an island unto myself. Left up to my own devices, I don't know how I recover through some of the most difficult periods of my life. I need other people. I need other people's support, input, whatever. That's the key that has sustained me through this. I'll admit, things get overwhelming. I go in and out of acceptance, but above all, I'm okay with where I'm at, regardless of where I'm at. And that's as good as I can get it right now, because that's the process I'm going through at this moment. So to recap, should you be going through the bereavement process of you lost a family member, losing a family member, this is what I've done. Most of all, I've just been okay with where I'm at. And also have a support system in place. Pick up that phone. Interact with people. That is the only way you are going to get through this. You see those paintings behind me? I mentioned them in my other videos. Those are also a direct result of my bereavement. So, and what I'm doing today and right now in this moment is part of that redirection of the pain of my bereavement. So, it is possible. It is possible. And above all else, I am okay with where I'm at with it. It takes time, but you can get there. You just have to have faith that things will get better. So, to finish up, I had the wisest words given to me by a gentleman who is very spiritual and very wise, and he told me when I was going through my divorce from my ex-wife, he said, "Stephen, it's going to be okay, just not today." And, hey, it's going to be okay, just not today. So, have a good evening, folks, and I will see you tomorrow. And also, I will be talking a little bit more about grief and loss in other respects. Thank you.